alaikum wa rahmatullah. We will start with the epidemiological formulas, and this is the continuation of the previous session. In the formulas that we are using, you can refer back to your course book also. The formulas are there. So we have one of the formula, which is the maternal mortality rate. The maternal mortality rate, from that it is related to what? Maternal mortality rate. Related to what? So it's related to death and pregnancy. So the number of women who die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth and childbirth complication per 100,000 live birth in a given year. So this is the maternal mortality rate. There is crude death rate. Crude, it means the general. So crude, this death rate, it means the annual number of deaths in a certain population per 1,000 of the population. So how many deaths per 1,000 population of that area or that country or that region? There is a crude death rate during a given time during the year here, and here also during the year. The crude birth rate is annual number of birth per 1,000 population. So the number of birth per 1,000 population. The under 5 mortality rate, there is specific death rate here. So it might be specific to the age, it might be specific to a disease. So under 5 mortality rate, it is probability of dying between birth and 5 years old of age, experiencing per 1,000 of live birth. Okay, possibility of death during the first 5 years of life per 1,000 birth, live birth. Sorry. Infant mortality rate. It is the probability of dying between birth and exactly 1 year of age. So infant is considered here up to 1 year old. Expressed per 1,000 of live birth. There is also measures of age and sex combination. There is what we call it dependency rate. Did you hear this term, dependency rate? Dependency rate in all population, there are people who are working, and there is the age of work, and people who are depending on them in their expenses. So dependency ratio refer to measure of the economic impact. So to measure the economic impact of young and old people on the more economically productive member of the population. Usually they consider the productive age from the age of 15, after the age of 15, up to the age of 65. So this is the productive period of life. So those who are under 15 and those who are over 65, they are depending on that number of people who are between 15 to 60. Even though now by the law of labor work, it is not allowed for people who are less than 18 years old to go to work. so it will give some false effect. So younger cohort, the younger cohort or younger population, it is combination of those aged less than 15 years old. But it is the ratio of those who are less than 15 years old to the whole population. These are considered to be too younger to be fully active in the labor force, and they are therefore economically inactive. So they are depending on their expenses on the other who are there. Middle cohort, which is the productive population, which comprised from 15 to 64 years old. Those are considered to be economically active as they are actively involved in the labor and force. Old age cohort, the old age cohort, which is age population combination of those age more than 65 years old and above. Those are also beyond their economically active and productive years. By dividing the population into those three groups, it is possible to obtain the measure of dependency of younger and older upon the economically active impact of the population. So we will be able to find out how the dependency rate, in this case, in each country. So dependency ratio, it can be easily obtained through the following by the people who are less from 0 to 14 or to 15 plus people who are above 65 divided by number of population who are between 15 to 64 multiplied by 100. This will give me the ratio of dependency ratio, the percentage of those who are dependent. In some country, there are, if we look at the environment of the population, we might find that there is a huge number of people who are coming under the age of 14. So they are dependent. In some other country, you may find that a huge number of people, the environment, it is upside down. Those who are over 60 or 65 are more than the other. So it depends upon the health care, it depends upon also the fertility rate within the community. There are many factors. So dependency ratio measures the number of dependent of each 100 people in the middle cohort, those who are supporting. So the calculation of crude birth rate take total number of birth in a year for a region and dividing them by the mid-year population, then multiplied by 1,000. So the crude birth rate, number of live birth, let us say that here in Abraham, the number of live birth during 2020 might be 2,000, and number of population might be 46,000. So we'll divide the 2,000 divided by 64,000, then multiply it by 1,000. By that we will get the crude birth rate. How many crude birth? So the crude birth rate in any given society or country is affected by many factors, which include the level of economic development, also the woman education. Why the woman education is affecting the crude birth rate? Why it's affected the crude birth rate? There are no factors either. Now they are getting married after graduation mostly, isn't it? Previously, most of female, they were getting married maybe from the age of 15 or Sometimes it might be less. So during that period, they might get birth. But now, because of late, in this case, late pregnancy will be there. So number of birth, it will be affected. The period that, and you got it in maternity health, that the period, the fertility period, it is mostly from the age of 15 to the age of 45. This is the most. It might be before, it might be before, it might be also after. But this is according to the scientific calculation that they are considering it like this. So this will affect the birth rate. Also depend upon religion, depend upon the society, and you know, in some country they are not. It is not permitted to have more than one child, like in China. In India, you see that most of the people they are having only 2. For others and for us, there are many factors within. So the limitation, it is not there. We can have only the period between each child and the other. So it is sometimes political, because of the politics that they are preventing from getting more than one child or 2 child, or if you are the condition is not settled also. So there are many conditions. For instance, also if the total population of the country X is a given year is 40 million people, and the number of live birth in the same year is 4,000 births. So in this case, 4,000 divided by 4 million multiplied by 1,000, so it is 10. So the crude birth rate or reproductive rate, which we equal to 40 in children per 1,000. Sorry, 10. The general fertility rate. It is referred to the number of live birth per 1,000 women aged 15 to 49. So which is the typical cohort for childbearing in particular years. The calculation of the general fertility rate, or the total number of birth in a year region, or is divided by the total number of women aged 15 to 49 in the same year. So the general fertility rate is number of live birth divided by number of women 15 to 90 to 49 multiplied by 100. If we take any city or any country, we will take the total number of live birth, and we will divide. We'll take the statistic. We'll see how many women are there within that country or within that region who are aged between 15 to 90 to 49, and we will multiply it by 100. By that we are getting the general fertility rate, اللي هي نسبة الخصوبة نسميها. For example, in a given population has about 215 live birth per year, and the total number of women in that age is 22,500. So we will divide 215 divided by 22,500 multiplied by 1,000. So the fertility rate, it will be 9.5. So 9.5 live birth for every 1,000 women in the childbearing age. The age-specific birth rate. There is also sometime we are studying the age-specific birth rate in order to see the specific or birth rate below the age of 18, to see the birth rate between the age of, as example, from 18 to 24 years old, the age or the birth rate for those who are over 45. So it is age-specific rate, number of live birth by the age group, for that age group, and number of women of the same age multiplied by the same age group, multiplied by 1,000. By that we will get that rate. For instance, live birth of women 15 to 19 were 200, while the total number of women in the same age is 16,665. So we will divide the sorry, it is only 665. So we'll divide the 200 by 65, then multiply it by 1,000. So it will be 12 per 1,000. There is some wrong number here. This means that for every 1,000 women in that age group, there were 12 live births. Mortality rate, it is several, there is several methods having been discovered by demographic in order to have the mortality statistic. Those include the following: the crude death rate. Crude death rate اللي معدل الوفيات الخام بنسميه. So is referring to the number of deaths in a given year per the 1,000 of people in this population. We are dividing the number of deaths during the year 2000, like if we are taking year 2000, divided by number of the population during that year, multiplied by 1,000. عدد الوفيات على عدد السكان في تلك السنة في منتصف السنة مضروب في 1000. So number of deaths in a year, the total population in the mid of the year multiplied by 1,000. But this will give me the crude death rate. The age-specific death rate or mortality rate, this is for an age group. So it is number of deaths in a specific age, like the age 65 and plus, divided by total population at the same age. The number of deaths, if we are taking, let's say, from age of 40 to age of 50. So number of deaths within that age group divided by number of people in that given year who are aged also 40 to 50, multiplied by 1,000. So it is called specific age group, or death rate for age group. It is specific for this part. This rate compute separately for each sex sometimes. So we have infant mortality rate, we have the also it might be the women mortality rate, it might be for men mortality rate, it depends, it might be due to age and due to sex. Cause-specific death rate. In cause-specific death rate, this measure the importance of certain cause of death in a given year. It might be due to certain disease, like when they are doing their calculation and epidemiological study for corona also. they are taking the number of deaths due to certain cause or disease, the total death in a year, in relation to total death of the year. So, cause-specific death rate, it is the death due to a certain cause divided by total number of deaths multiplied by 1,000. So it will give the rate for deaths of that specific disease. Crude death rate, it's number of deaths during a year, mid-year population multiplied by 1,000. This is a crude death rate. معدل الوفيات الخام. عدد الوفيات على عدد السكان في منتصف السنة، سنة الدراسة مضروب في 1000. If we want to do calculation of specific death rate for age group 20 to 30 in a certain population in a year compared with the crude death rate. So here we have population of 300 and the number of deaths are 2. So we will divide the 2 divided by 300. Then we will multiply it by the factor which is 1,000. So 6 specific death rate also, which is the total number of deaths in male or female. We'll take one at a time. In a defined area during a specific period, دائما في عند specific period, always specific period is there and a specific target is there, over the mid-year population of the male. If I am taking the death for male, I have to take the number of population of the mid-year for the male, then multiply them by 1,000. So, like this example, in a year 2013, the mid-year population of a town where 100,000, calculate the specific death rate for male in the town for the year 2013, giving that number of male death in 2013 is 500. So 6 ratio, 1,000 male per 1,000 female. It means that number of female and males are equal. So the number of female here in this community is how many?
1,000.
See, this is the, in that year, mid-year population of a town was 100,000. It is the total population. It is men and women. So in this case, number of men, if the rate is the same, it will be 50,000. It will be 50,000. So when I divide, I will divide on 50,000. So the number of male death is 500 divided by 50,000 multiplied by 1,000. By that, I will get the rate. Disease-specific death rate, it is the total number of deaths due to a certain disease, like cancer or like corona or like AIDS, in a defined area in a specific period. But there is area and period also. Usually it is 1 year. Sometimes it can be also for a month, but in this case we will take the population in that month, mid-year population multiplied by 1,000. By that, we will calculate the specific rate. So the mid-year population during is 50,000. The number of deaths during this year is 600, about out of 50 deaths due to cancer. So 50 are due to cancer. They calculate the death rate. The death rate, or the crude death rate, it is 600 divided by 5,000 multiplied by 1,000. The specific death rate, it is the number of deaths due to cancer, which is 500, divided by the number of deaths here, divided by 600, multiplied by 10. So, how is the prevalence calculated? The prevalence, it is the number of people with the disease or condition at a specific time, divided by the number of people or population at risk at that specific time, multiplied by 100. So this is called the prevalence of the disease. Prevalence of the disease. Number of people who get the disease over the number of people who are at risk multiplied by 100. Calculate the prevalence disease for a given situation. So in a population of 30,200 adolescent girls are anemic. Calculate the prevalence of anemia among adolescent girl in adolescent girl percent is 10% of the population. So if I am taking 10% of the population, it will be the number of population of girls 10%, it will be 3,000. So adolescents who are having anemia, 200 divided by 2,000 multiplied by 1,000. Okay? So this is the prevalence. Okay? Thank you. Any question? So I give you that paper. This, do the calculation. During the exam, you will have some of the questions in the calculation for epidemiology. Thank you.